Okay, hey, what's up, dude?
Not much. Are you are you in a car right now?
I am. Hey, welcome to my car studio.
I love it. So it's the
uh,
new makeshift studio, huh?
yeah, for sure. It's uh, well, I mean, heck, we've been gone for just a little while, but hey, yeah, how's things? Well, before we get into everything, let's get this thing kicked off. I'm gonna start this thing with a little soft opening, and then when we get back, we'll really get into it. So, here we go.
Fearless,
Chase,
bold,
following,
courageous,
search. I'm Aaron,
and I'm Marshall.
and this is
Undaunted.
Pursuit. Okay, that's a long enough pause. Hey, guys, and welcome back to Undaunted Pursuit Podcast. I know that we have taken some time off, and it's been a long time since we've seen you guys here. And yeah, it's been quite the ride. A lot has happened since we last were on here, Marshall. And as you mentioned in the opening there, yes, I am. The life in an RV has forced me to turn the car into a studio for the evening. So, yeah.
Well, and you got, I guess, six other people crammed into a motorhome, which is your temporary home. It's kind of hard to do any type of recording because there's so much going on. There's so much commotion in there. So the only quiet place, I guess, would be your
Right.
car.
Oh
So
man.
so how
And let me
has
tell you, it's been
yeah,
yeah.
how has this move and this all this stuff that's gone? Uh, there's just been a lot of moving parts recently. So maybe kind of fill us in on what you've been up to.
hmm Oh man, it has been a wild, wild ride. And to put it lightly, some would say that we are just flat crazy for what we did. And yes, we are now living in Arkansas. And through a series of events, we can't spend too long tonight, Marshall, on the podcast, just because it's going to. Since we got to our new area in Arkansas, we started off in one area, and now we're into the area that God's just really been laying on our hearts. And so now that we're here, we're busy. We've got a stinking Christmas parade to go to tonight. We've been trying to do this podcast episode for the past week, 2 weeks,
Yeah, at
and
least. Yeah.
it just wasn't lining out. And things have gotten busier since we got down here. Um, God's given us he gave us a church, and let me tell you, that church it's wild. It is so awesome to see people fired up for the Lord, and to
Mhm.
just see it. They are. I I thought our family was fired up. That doesn't even scratch the surface compared to the church that God put us in. It is amazing, and it's Lakeview Assembly is the name of the church in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Um, you guys, they're available online. They're available on Spotify. I encourage you guys to check it out. Um, it's definitely good. We are truly blessed to be put in, just immersed into something where we are starting to feel like family, even after being there just twice now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been a wild ride. There's been some trying times. Another reason for us not doing the episode is when we first got here, there was a time of funk. We came
Yeah.
from a period a season in our life, let's put it that way, of being around people organizing all these small groups and being involved with the community and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, everything just comes to a screeching halt. And where we were
Hmm.
at when we first got here, um, there's nothing wrong with that area, okay? But it's just too busy. It's too, there's
Hmm.
not enough connection up there where we were at, and we just weren't feeling it, and it was causing some funkiness in our lives, and we just had to continue to listen to God, listen to what He was telling us to do, and reminding us that his promise does still stand. And so that's what we did. We made this move just a little further south in Arkansas, about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of where we were at. And
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, the change in the kids, the change in mood, the uplifting of our spirits, finding a church.
Yeah.
It's just been so refreshing to be where we're at now, despite living in 250 square feet with 7 people for right now, because that gets a little tough too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, based on what you shared with me, Aaron, over this whole process with you guys, from where you were in Arkansas to where you are now in Arkansas, it just seems like it's just a much more peaceful place, a lot prettier place. You're more centrally
Mm.
located to where you guys want to be for right now in your lives, and I mean, I can just I can sense and see the happiness myself in all of you guys just talking to you, throughout the past few weeks and stuff. And but yeah, guys, it's been a wild ride for Aaron. He's been rocking and rolling, doing all sorts of stuff. Him and his family, they've been going nonstop, and so finally they're at a place where they can kind of put the brakes on a little bit, take a quick breather, and try to get a hold of life.
Yeah.
So real quick on myself, I've been busy with work, of course, the holidays, Thanksgiving. I've been busy with my wife's family and stuff, doing a lot of things in the Metroplex, and yeah, it's just been wild. There's been a lot of planning going on for the Christmas holidays coming up, so a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. Not as busy as Aaron is, but busy enough to keep me focused on whatever's going on in my life. But anyway, I don't want to take too much time because, like Aaron said, he's got a lot going on tonight. They got some fun things to go do and explore there in Arkansas. So, Aaron, I say we go ahead and jump into this bad boy if you're good with that.
Well, yeah, we don't have to. We're sitting at about, by the time this is all said and done, 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, we're still doing okay on time. I'm just, it's yeah, I just want to remind we made this move, and yeah, you're right, Marshall. You've seen the roller coaster of emotions that this has caused throughout this whole process, even just initially getting out here, trying to get established and it not working out. And then, I say it not working out. It worked out just fine. There was just it was tweaking. That's what it needed to happen. Just some fine tuning to, some little bumps. It's not that we were in a bad spot. It's just, we were just a little funky. And yeah, I'm sure I've had a lot of people say that now that we're here. I mean, heck, we are so, this new location is such a blessing and it's so peaceful, spiritually and emotionally and everything, that me and Ashley were able to take an afternoon nap the other day. When do we ever have a chance to do that with 5 kids?
Yeah, I actually called that day, and Aaron, rightfully so, didn't answer my phone call because he was napping. And I told him, I said, I would have done the same thing. I would have seen you calling and hit snooze, man, because I was snoozing. So I don't blame you. And the thing that I love most about all this, I'm going to be kind of selfish in this moment. My wife and I both are glad that Aaron and Ashley are much, much, much closer to us. I can almost throw a stone and hit Aaron and Ashley from where I'm at. Not really. But man, it feels like that compared to where they were before. Yeah. But man, we're so much closer now. We can actually make some short weekend visits and things like that, and get to see these guys a lot more, and do start doing our podcast in person. It's just going to be a lot better for them, for everybody. So we're all super excited about it. We're happy for them.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exciting new journey in their lives. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I really think that it's going to lead to some really good things to happen with this podcast, for us to continue to take it just that much further. Yeah. And here's the dirty details, is that move, which we have to go back and pick up our junk because we put it in storage just so we could get out here. That's a 1900 mile, a little over probably 1950 miles here. We did it in 3 days, and in the motorhome, and Ashley following it behind in the van. It was great. Coming through, if you ever have a chance to avoid Wyoming, do it. It's yeah, and yeah, it's windy. They actually, so we couldn't. We were just so nervous about coming out and making this move. We wake up. We spend the night in Wyoming, and it was sounded like a dang freight train. It sounded like a tornado outside, just laying in the back of the RV. We wake up at about, I don't know, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, hey, it feels like the winds have died down. Let's hit the road. All right, so we both get in. We hit the road. We start driving. Come to find out, either sometime throughout the night or even actively as we were driving, the highway was still closed because of 65-mile-an-hour winds, 55-mile-an-hour winds, whatever. And thank God that we did that in the dark, because I think it would have. I was already, the pucker effect was high driving down the road, because here I am. I'm driving this. I'm driving this high profile rig, and the wind is blowing like crazy, and there's nobody else on the road, and I'm like, man, as like all I could do was pray. I was like, Lord, please just get me out of this stinking state, because we only had from. We didn't have much further to go in Wyoming before we cut into Colorado. We actually saw the sunrise that morning in Colorado, and so we. I'm sitting there praying the whole time. Well, I passed by this wind. It's like I don't know. There in Wyoming, they got like little wind turbine things on the side of the road, and that thing was just going. I mean, if it went any faster, it would have blown away, I think. Had we seen the rest of it, what's a little intimidating is coming down. So you come down this little draw, and as I'm coming back up this hill, all I see is a cloud of dust because the wind is so strong across the highway. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, just come on, please get me out of this state. Please get us off of this highway. We're not technically supposed to be driving on it. That highway's closed. Every pull off and everything is filled with trucks. There were a few 18-wheelers that passed me going down the road. So I'm like, okay, so maybe if there's 18-wheelers still driving, I'm probably still pretty good, because we were running overweight. I mean, when we packed this RV to move out here, we packed a lot of the important stuff in here. So that's including all the guns and weapons that we had that I didn't want sitting in storage throughout the winter.
Right.
You can imagine how heavy that gets in the RV. So we're weighted down. And so, thankfully we made it through Wyoming, but man, if you can avoid it, I would. That Wyoming, man, I couldn't live there.
That sounds like quite the adventure. It sounds like you guys had a good old time driving through to get to your final destination of good old Arkansas. What I like about Arkansas? Not only is it just a beautiful state,
What's that?
but it is a clean state. It is clean. Like, it's the natural state, I believe. Isn't that what they call themselves? The natural state? Or
Yeah. Yep.
is it? Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
it is just, it's beautiful. Everywhere you go, man, it's just, when my wife went up to Hot Springs, I don't think I saw a piece of trash anywhere on the side of any road, and everywhere we drove in the state. I mean, it was just beautiful. And I was like, why can't everywhere be like this? I mean, this is nice. It's just nice and clean. This is right.
Well, and in Idaho's defense, Grangeville is like that too. Grangeville is very clean. Grangeville is very beautiful. The mountains there are great. There's nothing. I have nothing bad to say about Idaho. It's just God moved us here for whatever reason it may be. He's put us here, and you're right, Marshall. It is beautiful. It is beautiful in its own way, and that's surprising too, because Hot Springs is for some reason Hot Springs calls to us. We love Hot Springs, and it does have its own kind of ratchetiness with. There is a high homeless population there. That comes with, because there's a casino there too. But that's like one little section. You get through, if you can bear that little section, the rest of Hot Springs, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's really pretty. But as much as we're talking about Hot Springs, And I hope somebody at the city of Hot Springs jumps on board and sponsors this podcast. You know what I'm
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, tourism dollars about to go up here. I mean,
saying?
come on.
You're about to see millions come flowing in. Come on.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Uh,
my
yeah,
wife
it's
and
been.
I, my wife and I went to that
Go ahead.
casino.
Go ahead.
We never been to a horse race, and so we went to that horse race there, and we bet a little bit of a few dollars here, a few dollars there, and it
Sure.
was fun. Then we went to the
Ain't
casino,
nothing wrong with that.
and
A
we,
little
we
bit.
we played a few. Yeah, we played some in the casino. I actually made some decent money in the casino, and we never go to casinos. Her and I have never been together, and I've been to one casino other than this
We
one in
don't
my
either.
life. And the first time I went to, I believe, was with Aaron up in Missouri, and that was years ago. I
No
think it
way.
was.
Really?
I think so. It was a real small casino. Anyway, there's so many fun things to do up there in Hot Springs, and you're not very far from larger towns if you want to do something else. But yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just great. Maybe we'll end up there one day. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, and here's the confirmation that did it for us, being where we're at now. And of course, as you know, I'm not going to tell you exactly where I'm at because I don't want a whole bunch of fans. Who am I kidding? I was going to say I don't want a whole bunch of fans just showing up at my RV. I can't house y'all. Who am I kidding? Ain't none of you coming to show up here. No, in all reality, um, the little bit in our first location, we didn't run into too many welcoming people as far as what it was, friendly, what you would expect with Southern hospitality and all that. And then today, here we are. We've been here 2 days, and we went to do laundry at the laundromat and just ran into everybody in the laundromat. Was incredibly nice, incredibly welcoming. Hey, we traded, I don't know how many phone numbers we got from the laundromat today, just because they're like, oh, yeah, just, hey, if you need anything, you give us a call and we'll come down. It's like, hey, you too, you need,
Yeah.
we ran into some gal that she's living off grid. I'm like, we can relate. We love it. That's cool. We support that.
Mhm.
And, yeah, just the amount of people and then the mentality change from that one area to this area, completely different.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right, we better get into Luke 24 because I'm running this parade starts at 5:00 and it's 4:30 right now. So I don't even know if we're gonna get through Luke 24 tonight. Oh shoot. Okay, so are you ready to do this, Marshall?
I'm ready. I'm just looking at the scenery in the
The
background.
joys of the choice. Oh man, I wish this was a video pod. I wish I had. Maybe I have time to do a video podcast. But you ever seen an annoying kid on TV, like in the background, trying to be on video camera? Yeah, I got one of my kids sitting here blowing his face against the car window because I need tinted windows on this whole car studio if it's going to be my studio for the foreseeable future.
I think if you did a podcast and call it the car podcast or podcast in the car or talks from the van or whatever, I think it would be a hit.
Yeah. What is it? Captain seat talks or something like that. I'm sitting in the. Okay, so here's my setup. I got the computer on the dash, which doesn't fit very good. I've got the arm to the because the microphone has a like a retractable arm, and I've got that clamped down to the steering wheel, and it's run over here, and I've got my Bible and stuff. I got it sitting on my lap. I got my the space is just, it's going to take some getting used to here.
Oh, I love it. Way to improvise.
So all this energy, you know why we have all this energy today is because it's the last chapter in Luke. And what is it? It's only the greatest chapter. You know why, Marshall? Resurrection Day. And if we would have been thinking about this a long time ago, we would have ended this whole Luke study on Easter, but it doesn't work out that way. So, but we can celebrate Jesus's resurrection any day, and we should be every day. celebrating his
Mm-hmm.
resurrection. So,
Yep.
and there's going to be some. I had plans on going through all of the supporting gospels on this, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to paraphrase it. We're going to name it, but we're not going to go and read it just for the sake of time. I'm going to leave that up to anybody listening. You guys go and read through it. That's why you have to read through all of the gospels, because everybody
Yep.
had a different viewpoint in Jesus's story and his continuing story and everything. All these guys saw something different. They saw it in a different way. They saw it however it looked. Luke is obviously he is researching this after the fact, so that's why
Yeah.
it's even just a little shorter than, say, Matthew's or John's.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say this very first little sentence here of Luke 24. It says, on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took the spices to the tomb. So there's the
Mm-hmm.
reason why the women brought the spices to the tomb, and the reason why people did that back in that day was to prevent from the body from smelling really bad. Jews did not
Mm-hmm.
practice embalming back in that day. They brought the spices and into the tomb to prevent the rotting flesh from smelling so bad, because you can imagine it's a horrible smell. Anyway, I wanted to kind of start off with that. That's something I thought was pretty interesting when I started reading all this, because I was like, why do they do that? And well, there you go. That's why.
Well, see, and here's the thing, Marshall. Women, okay? And it says, what does it say here? It just, Luke just says, the women went to the tomb. They found, let's see here. Oh, okay. So it's not until necessarily verse 10 that he lists who was there. If you go and look at Matthew 28 and Mark, Matthew chapter 28 and Mark chapter 16, they both mention who the women were there, and then Luke also does too. So there's a couple that are in here: Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, Mark. Why did I put Mark there? Anyway, Salome, I guess, is one of the ladies that I found there, and then Luke mentions Johanna, the wife of Chusa, Herod's steward. But
Yeah.
that's what I want to. Here's the breakdown of it. What I want you to do is I want you to go back and I want you to read through Matthew chapter 28, Mark chapter 16, and John's chapter 20 and 21 to get this full picture and the events of Jesus's resurrection. That's kind of how you have to read through it, including Luke 24, and that covers.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to cover what everything happened.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of touch on Luke 24:13, if you don't mind. I know we're kind of jumping around and trying to get through this in a matter of just a few minutes, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, before we do that, while we're on the subject of women, and I wanted to ask you, do you know why this is so? When we've talked about this before, because we've talked about the mentality and how the tradition was back then to not, they didn't see women as the women just didn't have the same rights as they do today. They weren't
Right.
looked at as reliable. They weren't technically there to talk. Whatever. So what I want to bring up is, why is it important to note or emphasize women being the first to discover Jesus's resurrection? It's kind of an open-ended question, and I think it's self-explanatory based on, if you know what their tradition was, or what their customs were like in the time. That's very important. If this was going to be a made-up story in any way, it's not going to be women to first find him. It's not going to be women to first spread the word that Jesus has resurrected, because it's not reliable. It's not, unless he actually did, and that's why we're going to see as we go through Luke chapter 24 that he first appears to Mary Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, if this was a made up story, which it's not, we fully believe that it is not, and no, and the circumstances in my life surely is a testimony as to that we serve a living God.
Oh yeah.
So it wouldn't. All I'm trying to say is it wouldn't be women spreading this message if it was made up in any way.
Oh yeah. Which it's just very unique that God Jesus has his way as always all throughout Scripture of catching your attention, of getting you to open
Yeah.
up your eyes, and that, which is kind of a good segue into 24:13. I'll read. So it kind of starts in 24:13 and goes to 27, then it goes to 30. It kind of just I kind of go through a big chunk there, but in 24:13, Jesus approaches Cleopas and another person and asks them what they were doing and talking about. And in that moment,
Mm.
when Jesus came back and he was resurrected, and he was walking with them. He had like his face was covered, and they couldn't see that he was Jesus. They couldn't tell that he was Jesus. He wasn't revealed um, to them. And what I love is that Jesus begins teaching them in verse 27. Jesus was crucified. He comes back to life and continues to teach after everything he'd already been through. After all of his years on earth, all the teaching he did, he was crucified and he is resurrected. And the first people he pretty much
Hmm.
runs into, he's already starting to teach them and preach to them. And he's starting
Yeah.
to go through
Yeah.
the gospel. He's already started going through it. Um, so eventually, kind of stepping forward a little bit, and so that teaching is in verse 27. So Jesus was crucified, comes back to life, and continues to teach after all that. Eventually, Jesus goes into their house, Cleopas and this other gentleman. He goes into their house and breaks bread with them. At verse 30, the men's eyes were opened after taking bread, and they
Mm.
recognized him. But it wasn't until after they broke the bread with him that they realized that he was Jesus. And why is that? The reason why I think is because I think Jesus wanted them to go tell the others what they experienced and that Jesus is alive and was resurrected, just like he said he would do prior to his being crucified. He kept
Right.
himself kind of cloaked, so to speak, incognito. And then afterwards, once they broke the bread, he was like, they're like, oh, it's Jesus. And those two guys, after they realized who he was, that those two guys, Cleopas and their guy, they were just like, I can't believe like our hearts weren't burning and all this kind of stuff. And how did we not know that the presence of the Lord was with us while we were walking with him all the way to our house? I just thought that section
Yeah.
there was just really interesting.
Yeah, and it is interesting. And why not better to get you excited about, because Jesus is in his glorified body at this point. We're going to have those same powers in our glorified bodies. We'll be able to shape
Mm-hmm.
shift and change appearance and walk through walls and lock doors and fly and all this awesome stuff. And Jesus showed us what we'd be capable of if we choose to follow him and accept his sacrifice on the cross.
Yeah.
So here's what I thought was a cool thing, Marshall. If we back up a little bit to verse 12, well, here, let me just paraphrase the happenings up to that. So the women go back and they tell the other disciples about what they found: an empty tomb, the stone rolled away, and and so of course, being the customs that they were, we talked about how women were looked on during that time period. The guys, they thought they were, their report in verse 11 here says, but their report seemed to them like idle talk and nonsense, and they would not believe him. So Peter gets up and runs. So when I was reading through this, I get to this part and he stooping at the small entrance and looking in. So it's like, what is that? And go look it up. Go look up first century tombs and what they were like. I was like, why did he have to stoop? You always see these big, these pictures look like you can just walk right into the tomb, but it's like he actually did have to
Mm-hmm.
stoop to see in there, and he saw only linens.
Yeah.
And now if we go to, and you can find that the really good description of the tombs I found was on cbnisrael.org. It's a blog on first century tombs. Just go check that out. But if you look at John chapter 20, verses 6 through 7, it mentions that his burial clothes were thrown off to the side, but the folded napkin, which was the face cloth, was folded and set
Mm-hmm.
aside. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is extremely significant. And I got to looking at we'd heard it through different sermons before, or a devotion or something. I can't remember where we heard it, but I found it online through what's the name of this? Jerusalem Perspective .com. And what it was is the servant would set the dinner table for his master, and he made sure it was exactly the way the master wanted it. The table was furnished perfectly, and the servant would wait just out of sight until the master had finished eating, and the servant would not dare touch the table until the master was finished. If the master was done eating, he would rise from the table, wipe his fingers, his mouth, and clean his beard, and would wad the napkin up and toss it on the table. That was a sign to that servant to know that he was done. But if the master got up and he got up from the table for any reason, he would fold the napkin and lay it beside his plate. And that was a sign to the servant suggesting that he's not finished yet and that he will be coming back. So Jesus deliberately folding up the face linen is significant in the fact that our master is not done yet and he is coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
I just thought that was, I thought that was cool. That's what, and Peter would have been familiar with that custom of the time. So he would have known. Oh, holy cow. That was weird. Guys, sorry for this interruption here on the podcast. We meant to go a little bit longer tonight, but we just want to apologize for this technical difficulty. We will get to the rest of Luke chapter 24, round this thing out, and we will start getting into some more content, and we'll start getting back into our regular scheduled. In the meantime, guys, share this episode with somebody, like and subscribe to our channels, our social medias, and of course, the music at the end of this podcast, whoever it's provided by, look in the show notes. All of their links will be in it. Make sure you go check them out. Show them as much support as you show us. You can always email us at mail@undauntedpursuit.com. And hey, you can message us on any Facebook, Instagram. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We love to hear any praise reports, any prayer requests, whatever you want. Even if you just want to write and say hi, that's cool. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening on Dawn of Pursuit podcast. We'll see y'all next week. Adios.
Can you feel him here tonight? You know he's been looking on you. You know you ain't living right. You gotta give it to Jesus tonight. Give it to Jesus. Oh, give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus, yeah. Give it to Jesus. You gotta give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus. Now Jesus is here tonight in this room. His spirit is here for me and you. If you're feeling lost and broken, you don't know what to do, Jesus is here. He's waiting for you to give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus. Yeah, give it to Jesus. Yeah, give it to Jesus. Oh, give it to Jesus.